All right, welcome to All Good Things and All Good Time, where life is all good and it is always a good day to be alive. I'm on my way back to California from the East Coast. I first drove from the West Coast to the East. It's the middle of the night. I'm on the last leg of my trip. And I've been thinking there's just a lot of little things I want to talk about. A lot of story or two, maybe a joke will come up. And they're kind of mishmash, hodgepodge stories that that trip my mental brain wires in the middle of the night while I'm driving, getting delirious. First of all, before I went on this trip about 3 months ago, right before we all saw her on CBS News morning show, Maria Menounos came to my restaurant, sat at my table. I waited on her one day or 2 of the 5 days she was there. Nice lady, she and her husband, right? Just a nice woman. Happened to be famous. I didn't know who she was. So I looked her up. Totally cool. I didn't realize she had just beat cancer. And so after I served her as a waiter at breakfast, watching her impeccable diet. She had an impeccable diet. I saw her on CBS morning show talking about how she just beat cancer. Now, if you drive across the United States of America right now, at about 60% of the pumps in the United States is Maria Menounos talking to you loud. They got these TVs at every goddamn gas station, just talking to you about stuff on TV or to sell. I don't know. It's a big marketing thing. It's one more place they can capture your attention while you're pumping your gas and shove advertising down your throat. Anyway, it's fascinating. But just so happens right now, the primary voice of all of that is Maria Menounos, and it's just a trip, right? The restaurant that's no longer in existence that my son and I worked at, I had the pleasure of serving her at, and now I'm seeing her at all the pumps. So that's just kind of interesting. Price of gas is kind of interesting. In the state of Arizona, when you first get in the state, it's $4.09, then it drops to $3.79. A little bit in, and then on the opposite side of the state, it's $4.50 a gallon. It is a whole lot more. It is like 75 cents more on one side of the state than it is the other. That's interesting. There's a couple rest stops as you get into the state, and then they just disappear. I just had to pull off on some side road, so I was just about to die because there wasn't any place to pull over. No rest stop. Rest stops save lives. You come into Oklahoma, they got this rest stop where it's a visitor center and it's closed most of the time, most of the hours of the day. Seems like a nice effort. And then you drive the whole rest of the state and you don't see one rest stop. Oklahoma, you suck. You're literally killing people who needed a place to pull over, but instead they died. Oh. New Mexico has a sign that says, rest stop in 50 miles. You get there, it's closed. If you were just dying to get there so you could sleep and then it closed, you might die just the next mile or two past it. Anyway, don't close your rest stops. Keep them open. Do what all the respectable states do when it comes to their rest stops. And put a person working there every 8 hours. There's 24 hours in a day. Have someone working there cleaning the bathrooms 24 hours a day. That's what you got to do. In many cases, like the one on the edge of Arizona, it's all closed up. They must have spent $1 million building this building so that they can't spend, $20 an hour putting someone there on a living wage helping people out. On the edge of Arkansas, right? They got a real nice one, right? With more literature, more books than any rest stop in America, maybe. Seriously, just so many things to read. Meanwhile, that dumb shit governor and all those pussy fucking Republicans just closed all the libraries because you're afraid of the words in the books. Oh! You're not afraid of the guns that are murdering your children. No, you're afraid of the words in the books. Give me a fucking break. My God. How are you going to win any long-term effort if your people are the ones afraid of education? Dumb shits. Afraid of education. See these signs that say something God, and then they show evolution, you know, the visual of evolution that we've seen before of, you know, man coming from ape. They draw a circle and then a line through it, because, you know, that's science. You can't fucking believe in that shit. Anyway, oh my God, yeah. Don't believe in science. Don't read books. Don't get educated. Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. There's no reason for this to exist in the first place. Like, literally. There is no moral equivalent. If you drew a list of pros and cons of one party versus the other, there are no pros. This is the pro-death freaking party. It's not pro-life. That's just the opposite, right? Fucking, anyway. So I'm headed back to Maui pretty soon. I think I'm gonna maybe look into becoming super informed. I've got nothing else to do. So, like an investigatory individual, I will take every interview I can and learn everything I can about everything there is to learn about from all the angles, from the craziest conspiracy theories to the realistically good damn questions that someone like me might have. Who was there? Who filmed it? And yeah, there's just a lot of interesting, you know, reasonable questions, I think, about the behavior of people. But the last thing I want to do is throw the people who, you know, work to protect us under a bus, you know, and just assume the worst of anyone. Our cops, of course not our firefighters. You know, they were doing their best. They're all our best people in our community. So anyway, cheers to you. Some hot coffee here, middle of the night. It's a little cold in Arizona. It's like 50 degrees. I got my new chill out shirt, 2 for $30 at the Pilot Truckstop I was just at. So when you drive across the United States, you need to know just a couple little things. Don't speed. You don't need to. The speed limits are fast enough. But you're going to see signs that are very important to observe and understand what they mean. I saw a new one on this trip, but there are three ways to word the same thing. The 3 ways to word it are no tolerance, zero tolerance, and strictly enforced. That means if it's a 70, 75, 80, 85 mile an hour speed limit, if you're going 1 mile an hour over, they very well might pull you over. If you're just sitting there in cruise control at 1 or 2 miles over and they come up on you and they can just sit with you too, they're justified. And when so they think, and we don't realize, because we used to speed because 55 mile an hour was the speed limit, and when the speed limit was that, it made no sense and you just had to speed. But you don't have to anymore, and don't. And be aware of that, right? You don't want tickets. Also be aware that you know, it's wrong to just be in the left lane. You need to always be trying to act like you're trying to spend most of your time in the right lane, and then come over and pass people, you know, because and inevitably all night long is the best time to be on these roads. They are just full of vehicles the rest of the time. But once these guys have done the way it works, so this is interesting. They do 8 hours, and then they can take 30 minutes off, then do 3 more, which is freaking impossible. I could never do that. It is so hard to drive 8 hours straight without falling asleep at the wheel. Holy shit. So, and then 3 more after that. I don't know how they do that. I got to break it up all the time. pulling over for every reason. I pull over at every rest stop. I pull over and get gas at every half tank. Pull over to eat constantly. Yeah, and totally unhealthy. This is a very unhealthy activity. Your ankles are gonna swell up maybe from the salt, but the poor circulation from. Anyway, that's why it's good to swim, exercise if you can find ways to exercise along the way, in a gym or whatever. It'd be good for you, definitely. God knows how much weight I have gained. Get one of those front butts. So yeah, man, I think maybe I'll try to write a book about covering everything, you know, from and include the interviews. Get some new interviews and you know, other people's stories, my story, and then do good if it sells. Do good with the proceeds. You know, so, of course, help get my life back together because I lost pretty much everything. I mean, I saved a few baseball cards, but the vast majority of my collection is just gone, and that was what I thought to be my retirement. And so, you know, it was kind of like watching your retirement burn up, but it's all just stuff. And you know, I don't feel like anybody should feel sorry for anybody for losing stuff, because it's just stuff, you know. When you lose a friend, that's the stuff that is different. Ooh. Just went on Facebook. I don't really spend any time on Facebook, and I saw that my friend Frank Trejos died in the fire. Ooh. So I dedicate this to him. Just saw him. Great guy. And that's the first friend I've heard about that's definitely died in a fire that I knew pretty good. He's a good guy. I worked 10 years with him at Hula Grill. Saw him at Foodland just a couple days before the fire. And said he had a bum knee, I think. And I think he was getting Social Security. I was happy for him. And yeah, he was a great guy to work with. He worked this section at Hula Grill, section 6 and 7. Yeah, where there was only 4 tops, because he was an older waiter, and he was like set in his ways, and if he could have it his way, he'd never have a large party. So he just had these, they accommodated his wishes, and they gave him the sections where it was just 4 tops, where you'd have either 2, 3, or 4 people, right? Controllable section. He liked these people the most. He was good at his job. He was a good guy, and a great friend to the Bogars, who are mourning his loss heavily. And so, they were like family to him. And that's how I saw the story. It was through Bogey's son's wife, I think, on Facebook. I just happened to saw a bunch of memorial stuff and Frank's picture on their page, and then I finally got to a place where it explained that Frank died in the fire, and I just couldn't believe it. And that hits hard. So, and that's just freaking the first person that he wasn't even on the list that they talked about, right? The first, all these official lists, I didn't see him on there. So, anyway, yeah, Frankie, love you, buddy. So sad that we lost Frank. So anyway, just went to McDonald's and I'm like, hey, can I buy one of those Pokemon cards? And she's like, no, I'll just give them to you. How many you want? I'm like, 5? Girl gave me 5 of these things. Just handed them to me for free. That was nice. I was like, hey, you just helped somebody out whose house just burned down. That's almost funny, right? Like I don't know if I've said this already, but I'll be like in a Target, you know, all of a sudden start crying for no reason or for 20 reasons. And, you know, nothing, it's never eventful or anything, but I start thinking, because I'm just, you know, in this place, I think, oh, what if I just look up and saw a beautiful girl who wanted to put me back together? Anyway, it's kind of funny. I have funny thoughts even when I'm crying. So, how many minutes? We're at 16 minutes. All right. Stories. Where should I go with these stories? Interesting stuff going on in the parking lot over here. Anyway, I'm not going to comment. So, shoots. What else about this trip? There's other stuff too, man. I'm driving, I'm thinking of shit. Getting delirious. Oh, so if you want to make super strong coffee, they have these coffee machines where, you know, you can dial up a 24 ouncer, it grinds the beans, but, you know, and hit the button, you know, some matcha or whatever, but then you can just cut it off halfway through, right after all the concentrated coffee has come into your cup, and you can do that twice. In a smaller cup, like a 20 ounce cup, you can put the equivalent of 48 ounces of normal coffee's caffeine. Anyway, super strong. If you haven't thought of that and you want to look for a tool to stay alive when you're driving across the United States of America. Oh yeah, so prices of gas. Forget about. Let's see. Arizona, explain that. New Mexico was pretty good. It was like $3.69 in New Mexico. And then Texas was like $3.59, I think. I don't know, maybe I did a video from there about that. It's all starting to mush together. That's why I'm so glad I did the videos, because I get to a point where I can't even remember half of it. I can remember like the first, anyway. But it's been a good, interesting study in the price of gas across the United States. The lowest, it was in Tennessee at $3.03. And the highest, of course, is in Hawaii. And a lot in between. You gotta love it when it's under $4. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's $4.50 here on the border of Nevada and then California. Maybe it's because we're closer to there that they think they can command a higher price, or maybe there's some other reasons. But I mean, like a 60-cent, 70-cent difference from one side of the state to the other, and consistently, you know. Speaking of that super strong coffee. Anyway, all right, so what else? Shoot, sorry. I just drove 7,000 miles. Don't buy a rental car. They don't care. They give you new cars that don't have an oil change, and they've already got 7,000 miles, and they're giving it to you for a month. It's happened to me before. And then, you know, at 10,000 miles, the car asks for its first oil change. 10,000 miles. Anyway, and then, you know, like, you don't know, do they want you to get an oil change for the car? Do they not care? Are they going to get the car and just hit the little wire that says it had an oil change when they get it back, and just run it to 25 or 30 on the original oil and then sell it off? Who knows? I mean, it could be that bad. They might treat them that poorly and not care that much, because it's all just a little bit more money saved, and I'm sure they know how long oil will last if anybody has figured it out. But yeah, they'll be getting this car back with like 15,000 miles and still no oil change. But the fact that at 10,400 miles is when it first asks for it, that's absurd. It should have had one at like 5, or you know, at least at 6. I got the car with 7,500 miles on it. I hadn't had an oil change, and then it went 3. Well, it's just unbelievable. Anyway, so yeah, I would not buy a car from a rental car agency. I did once, a long time ago. Nevertheless, I now know why I wouldn't want to. They just don't give it an oil change, at least till, you know, way past, because it's always going to be out, and then having a whole bunch of extra miles no matter what after that wired trips at 9 or 10,000 miles, which it did on the last car. So that's interesting. Oh, I was going to try to go to Casa Bonita, but in Colorado, the South Park made famous place that they now own. But someone said, oh, you got to get reservations and it's a hassle. So I just skipped that. What else would we have liked to have done? I missed a few friends, a relative. We're going to see a relative. That's really exciting. My brother and I are getting along better than ever. We haven't always, so it's pretty exciting. Can't wait to see him. And then gonna go back to a couple beautiful places. We're gonna go to Lake Tahoe for sure, because that's close to my mom's house, and I'm gonna show you that beautiful place. If you don't know Lake Tahoe, it's like in addition to Maui, the other one of the most beautiful places in the country by far. There's so many beautiful places in the country, from the mountains of Alaska and Colorado to freaking the coast of Maine to, I mean, there's just some beautiful stuff out there. The landscapes out here in Arizona, New Mexico, seeing out for Utah's got stuff that's so beautiful. Idaho's got stuff that's so beautiful. Oregon is ridiculous, and Washington, oh my God, it's such a beautiful country. California kicks ass, no matter what some trader wants to say about it. It's a great state. Great state. Oh my God, it's ridiculous how beautiful and diverse and interesting California is. And so on. Denver's a great city. That was cool to stop there. Just had a day in Albuquerque. That was cool. Everywhere you go, there's Chili's and everything. I like Chili's, so that's good. I like this place. We had the most Chili's. That's funny. Land of enchantment. It's great that these states no longer consider possession of cannabis a felony and use of it. That's great. It's all weed legal states. Joe Biden, legalize weed and retire. Get Katie Porter to run for president. Get maybe AOC as the vice. Ooh, would they be dangerous? Dangerously awesome. Anyway, 2 women. Imagine that. Women are the majority of all college graduates in our country. Women are the majority of all voters in our country. They wield power. And you just poked the bear. Women are a force. Anyway, you gotta love them. So, this is nice and brisk out here. My kids are sleeping in the car behind me. I have not had a chance to sit down and do anything. I just, this is blue collar work. Driving is blue collar work. Make no mistake about it. These guys behind me working their ass off. But I can roll differently. I can just kind of go in and out of sleep and driving and sleep and driving, and always making sure I'm safe. But like I don't have any kind of clock. When they get to 8 hours, they literally have to pull over almost wherever they are and start sleeping, or take a break for 30 minutes. So that's interesting. Or after their 11th hour, or 11th and a half hour, then they have to just shut it down no matter what. So that's why we need a lot more space for truckers. Some states really suck at it. Oh, the last Arizona truck stop did have a huge lot for truckers, which was good. That's really important. We got to take care of these guys. It's interesting how, like, I'm glad that the automakers, you know, are getting paid better, and they generally get paid a little bit better than a lot of the other also very hard-working blue-collar people out there, people on the railroads, truckers, freaking, you know, meat packing laborers. I mean, they get paid a lot less. The firemen in, like, Ohio, I heard, and $13 an hour or whatever. Jeez. Or these rail workers getting paid like a third of what the automakers are getting paid. And so, while it is nice to see the auto workers getting their just due, it would be nice to see a few others as well. You know, these are the people that make the world actually work. And we need to respect labor. You know, shit. Now that I'm unemployed, all I can do is thank everybody else who's working. People who are doing all the stuff that makes everything work. And since there are a lot of people who don't participate in that economy, it's worth, you know, thanking them and respecting the hell out of them and doing what we can to help them get an affordable wage, a living wage. But of course, we could just build hand over fist $50,000, $100,000 small tiny homes, prefabs. I'm sure we could find land. We could just sell them like used cars. You got a job? Come on down. We'll get you in a house, right? Under $100,000 on a 30-year loan, even if you started them out rent to own, but you just scheduled it like a 30-year loan, even at 7% interest rates, you're talking 80 grand would be $550 a month, $600 a month for a home that gives you something to be proud of and saves you so much money. You have lots of money for shoes. Whatever that wage you might not be getting enough of is, it'll go a lot further if or if it was $50,000, you know, and your mortgage was $350, you know. All you would need is a job to feel great. So it would be real easy to solve all of our housing issues. We just got to stop building huge monster homes that have 2 people in them and start building tiny little homes that have 1 or 2 people in all of them, and give everyone a chance to start somewhere, you know. And when you do that, and when people are paying for their own home, they take better care of themselves, their children, their neighborhood, each other. It's all positive. Anyway, if I ever get into politics, you know, it's the kind of thing I'm gonna do, including making bigger lots for truckers and more rest stops and better ones. All that freaking infrastructure money that went out, these states are weasels. If you're not putting some of that money into these rest stops, you're blowing it, because it saves lives, makes the world a better place, you know. A clean, safe restroom along the roadway, you know. Anyway, thanks for watching. Do I have anything else to talk about? I just drive and think, oh, it's been fun with my kids. My daughter loves good music, like good, all the best music. Leonard Skinner, Floyd, Zeppelin, you know, Elton John, freaking Fleetwood Mac, freaking, you name it, freaking Metallica. She loves Metallica, and I've been just teaching her new stuff, like, you know, like, have you heard of the Temple of the Dog? And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, this is when this, you know, Pearl Jam, you know, Eddie Vedder sang with Soundgarden, and so that was cool. And You ever heard of Queensryche? No, check out Queensryche, and whatever. Anyway, it's been some fun. She's got Spotify, and so she dials it up, and then it goes into her loop. On and on. Just been a music fest with my daughter. My son is looking at his phone too much. The world outside is cool. He looks up at it and says, that's cool, yeah. And then he's back down on his phone. And yeah, don't do that, people. Put your damn phone down. It's not good for you. Phones are bad for you people. Anyway, I know I'm doing this on a phone. This is my whole technology setup. All right, so I got